I hope everyone's. Saud, thank you for joining. So we can get started. See? Welcome everyone. It's 6:05 p.m. Good evening, good morning, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. Welcome to Interpersonal Toastmasters. I am Jamal George, the Sergeant at Arms for this club in today's meeting. Everyone, please turn on your camera. Before we proceed, please turn off your cell phones or set them on silent mode. Please mute your mics. Please help me welcome our phenomenal Toastmaster of the day, Kenneth Lakshman.
Thank you, Jamal. It is my pleasure to be your Toastmaster for this evening. Tonight's theme is confidence. Confidence is a thing that a lot of people would like to have. And it's a lot of the main reason why people participate in Toastmasters is they want to help build their confidence. I'd like to ask everybody in the room tonight, just as an open-ended question, and if you can speak for maybe 10 seconds, like a micro table topics. Where do you derive your confidence from? When do you feel confident? I'm going to first call on Shweta. Shweta, where do you get your confidence from?
Almost always from knowing the subject matter in and out.
Preparation, it sounds like, that's fair to say.
Yes.
Excellent. And Garsini, I'm so glad to see you in our meeting tonight. Garsini, where do you get your confidence from?
Where do I get my confidence from? I get it, I think it's inner work that I have been trying to do to come it from within, have a stable self-esteem, and then rely on that inner energy.
I love that. I love that. A lot under the surface with that one. Abhishek, I'd like to ask you, where do you get your confidence from?
I would say preparation as well, and also putting myself in different kind of situations. So the experience helps me be confident in more situations down the line.
Exposure to new and expanding your scope gives you confidence. Well, we've seen that confidence can come from a lot of different corners and a lot of different ways for different people. So tonight, as some of our Toastmasters, such as Carol, are giving us their first ever icebreaker speech, let's all give her the confidence as she goes forward. Before we get started, and in our prepared speeches, I have a couple of roles that I want to introduce. First, I'd like to call in my timer for the evening, Shweta. Shweta, can you please explain how you'll be performing your duties as the timer?
Yeah, thank you. As in Toastmaster, one of our roles is to learn to speak within the time allowed. I would be keeping track of the times for each of the speakers today. For the prepared speeches, we have one icebreaker, which is supposed to be around 4 to 6 minutes. So I would be changing the color of ideally of my background, but because I don't have the right backgrounds here, I'll be changing the color on my camera and to show green card at 4 minutes, yellow card at 5 minutes, and red at 6 minutes. For the other prepared speech, it would be similar, but green at 5, yellow at 6, and red at 7. For the speech evaluators, the time is allotted time is around 2 to 3 minutes. So I'll be showing green card at 2 minutes, yellow card at 2.5 minutes, and red at 3 minutes. And lastly, for the table topics, the responses allotted time is 1 to 2 minutes. So I'll be showing green card at 1 minute, yellow at 1.5, and red at 2 minutes. just to note, because I don't have the right backgrounds and we're getting a little more creative here, I just want to show the colors here because they're not exactly the right colors. So this is how my green card will look. This is how my yellow will look. And I don't have the right red, so I'll be using pink for red. This is how my pink will look. And the rest of the time, I don't have the black color which is supposed to be used, so I'll be using this bluish shade or something transparent. I don't know, for you or for as a color. I hope you'll be able to make out the differences. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shweta. Confidence sometimes is preparation, and you had to be creative tonight, and I love it. Next, I'd like to call on my timer, Karthik. Can you please explain the role of the ah counter? My apologies. Will you please explain the role of the ah counter, Karthik?
Sure. Thank you, Toastmaster. Hey guys, I am Karthik Ravi. So today I will be the ah counter. So as an ah counter, I will be listening for all the filler words like like, so, but, and all the remaining filler words that people often use in their speech itself. So many people don't even know like how many times like they are used, they are actually being used in a particular speech. It can be distracting or it sometimes make the speech itself less interesting, which we usually don't want it to be that way. So I will keep track of them and then I will let people know how they did and how it could be like improved towards the end of the meeting. Thanks and best of luck, everyone. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Karthik. With that, I would next like to call, do we have a thought of the day from Jamal? Jamal, could you please share with us the thought of the day?
Yes, I will. The thought of the day is the most important, the most powerful thing anyone can say to us is what we say to ourselves. I'll repeat. The most powerful thing anyone can say to us is what we say to ourselves. Back to you, Kenneth.
Thank you, Jamal. It is time for our first prepared speech. Carol is going to be giving her icebreaker speech tonight. Jamal will be her evaluator. Jamal, can you please explain the purpose of Carol's speech tonight?
Yes, thank you, Kenneth. Carol is going to give her first icebreaker speech. It'll be 4 to 6 minutes. And this is the prepared speech where she will be introducing herself to the club and sharing with us a story that we are here to listen. And as an evaluator, I will be sharing things that I felt were really good and things that she can work on and how the speech impacted me. So my evaluation is based on my observation, and that's what I'll be sharing when I'm called upon. Back to you, Toastmaster.
And yes, that reminder is evaluations are a huge part of Toastmasters, and evaluations are just one person's opinion. Just putting that out there. So without further ado, Carol Cross, changing a lifelong character trait. Carol Cross, over to you.
Thank you. Well, when Jamal asked me this past Sunday if I'd written my icebreaker speech yet, I was in a big hurry, so I just answered not yet. But that wasn't really the complete answer. A more complete answer would have been, yes, I did write a speech, but after listening to Danny's, I decided to throw mine out and start over again. That's because Danny resonated with me in a way that made me think through my own shyness. That, in my case, born of a fear of making a mistake, looking foolish, or just intruding where I wasn't welcome. And I'm sorry Danny isn't here tonight because I think he might appreciate the fact that he really did change what I was thinking or the way I was thinking. I come by my shyness naturally, I think, although it doesn't let me off the hook. What I mean by coming by it naturally is that I can remember even as a child, I was reluctant to initiate contact with friends. I can distinctly remember moping around the house, complaining that I had nothing to do, and my mother urging me to go to my friend's house and ask them to play. My response must have been as exasperating to her as it was typical for me. I says, what if they're already doing something fun and they don't want me to interrupt? Why did I think that? The truth is, I can never remember going to their house and being rebuffed. On the other hand, I don't remember ever going to their house at all, unless it was with my brother, who was younger, still is, and has never been at all shy or reticent. They were brother and sister too, with almost the identical age differences between my brother and me. And we truly had rollicking times together, but never, as I recalled it, was I ever the one to initiate the get-togethers. Of course, there have been many other instances too, when my reticence to put myself out there kept me from doing something I would have enjoyed. And although I've forgotten most of them, one really does stand out. In junior high school, oh, so long ago, there was a boy I really, really liked. A dance was coming up, one in which the girls had to invite the boys. I had been told he liked me, and he managed to fall in with me as we were walking down the hall several times in the weeks before the dance. But do you know, I could never summon up enough courage to ask him to go with me. He ended up going with one of my friends, and I stayed home. Fast forward to many decades, to last March when COVID hit. You know, at first I actually loved it. Not the part about people getting sick and dying, of course, nor the lockdowns and fear that gripped all of us because we weren't sure how to protect ourselves and the people we love. But I have to admit that I did love the isolation and the hunkering down in place feeling of those first few months. Suddenly had a really good reason for my hermit tendencies. I baked, I read, I attended plenty of Zoom meetings, I gardened, I attended to my chickens. I was pretty close to being in heaven. But as the months wore on, I began to miss real honest to God person-to-person contact. So much so that I finally took the plunge and put myself out there in a way I really wasn't used to or comfortable with. But it worked, and I felt part of a community again and regained some equilibrium. I am not pretending that that effort cured me or that I've seen the light in any real life-changing sense. I'm still often worried that I'll somehow be interrupting something or that I'll be an unwelcome intrusion on people's plans. But I try to remember that since I'm almost always pleased when someone reaches out to me, it's likely that others feel pleased when I reach out to them. And just since I wrote that last line, I decided to take the plunge and invite a person I don't know too well to attend a party with me. Working out my courage, I emailed her, and to my relief, she responded saying she was delighted to receive the invitation. So please don't get me wrong. I actually have friends and a reasonably active social life. And I'm not so paralyzed with shyness that I never invite others to do things with me. But I will admit it remains something of a struggle. Toastmasters has already given me a bit more confidence to be less of an introvert. I'm done.
Carol, thank you so much for sharing that speech. I really love the way that you have been inspired by a peer here to go in an entirely new direction. That's incredible to hear. One of the common traditions of Toastmasters is also the role of a grammarian. And while we haven't yet staffed our team to have a grammarian, one word you used that I absolutely loved was reticent. And I love the way you incorporated that one. I really like that it's an opportunity to expand our vocabulary and hear how others use words that come so naturally to them. So everyone, if I could get 1 minute on the timer for everyone to give feedback directly to Carol on her presentation and icebreaker speech tonight.
So who goes first?
You just type it to her in Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Shweta. Our next prepared speech tonight will be Lakshmi. Lakshmi's evaluator will be Kevin. Kevin, can you please tell us the purpose of Lakshmi's speech tonight?
Sure. This is Lakshmi's speech on the pathway engaging humor for the project evaluation and feedback second speech. The purpose of speech is for the member to present a speech of any topic, receive feedback, and then apply that feedback to this second speech. The purpose is also for the member to demonstrate that she has applied the feedback that she received from the first speech. It's unfortunate that I was not there to listen to the first speech, but I did get some evaluation points for the first speech, and one of them is for Lakshmi to improve her use of pauses. So I will be looking especially for the use of pauses in her speech today. Back to you, Kenneth.
Thank you, Kevin. Lakshmi Sridhar, my head in the clouds, what's happening? Over to you, Lakshmi.
Today's theme is confidence. And I don't have the confidence to speak today, as I can't find my cheat sheet for the speech. How can I be so absent-minded? Wait, one of the meanings for the idiom head in the clouds is absent-mindedness, right? Bingo. Friends, Romans, oh, dear Toastmasters, sorry. Absent-mindedness, some say, is a human failing resulting from lack of attention or hyper-focus on a single matter or attention diversion by external factors. However, I consider this to be an amazing gift from the Creator to make life interesting and, most importantly, stress-free. Both my dad and I share this beautiful trait, but he's the one who takes the cake. Once, he wanted to bless a newly married young couple by sending them a gift. He prepared a nice card and, along with some currency notes, put it inside a beautifully decorated envelope. He then sent it to the couple. Few days later, he found the same envelope inside a book. Now, what do you think he had sent to the young couple then? A cover with an advertisement for a retirement home. What a thoughtful gift for a young couple. Another stellar example of my dad's absent-mindedness happened at his workplace. One day, he went to his cubicle and sat down to do his work. A younger colleague entered the room and stood next to him without uttering a single word for more than 5 minutes. Obviously, my dad was puzzled. So he asked, How can I help you, young man? The colleague replied, Professor Panchapakeshan, this is my cubicle and yours is upstairs. To overcome this issue of absent-mindedness, my dad came up with a novel idea. He generally used to wear his watch on his left wrist, but on the days he had to remember something, he would wear it on his right wrist just before leaving for work. However, there were times when he would come back home in the evening and ask me, Darling Lakshmi, before your mom comes, tell me, why did I wear the watch on my right wrist? My reply, Daddy, we were supposed to go to Granny's house for lunch. Of course, there were times when I did take advantage of the situation and say, Daddy, you promised to buy me a new dress. Absent-mindedness runs down our family tree. I too have followed my dad's footsteps with great dedication. I have my head in the clouds at least once every day. When I was doing my undergrad in Mumbai, I had to travel by bus and train daily to reach school. Once, on the day of an examination, I started from home early. I did remember to take my student ID, money for the bus, and the train pass. Upon reaching school on time, I noticed that I was walking with an awkward gait. I asked myself, what's happening? How come suddenly one of my legs has become shorter? I was wearing my sister's high-heel shoes on my right foot and my sneaker on the left. A friend of mine who was much stressed because of the examination looked at my fashionable footwear and started laughing. She then said, looks like our Cinderella substituted a lush shoe with a sneaker. This relaxed her. Recently, at the grocery store, I gave my card for payment. The exhausted cashier's face lit up with a smile. She then said, Sorry, ma'am, we accept only credit and debit cards, not a business card. What's that? This is not my business card. This is a cheat sheet I was looking for. And looks like my speech was not about the absent-minded trait that I share with my dad, but about how I live in my fanciful world. Another meaning for the idiom, head in the clouds. Go ahead, laugh at my absent-mindedness, but don't tell me that you never had this my head is in the clouds, what's happening situation before. We all live for such moments. Let's cherish these episodes in our lives. It will help us get going when goings get tough. Back to you, Brutus. I mean, Toastmaster. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. I don't think I've ever been referred to as Brutus before. And thank you for giving us the confidence to not know what we're doing and fake it till you make it, as it were. Timer, can I please get 1 minute on the clock? If you can type to Lakshmi any specific feedback about what you saw, heard, and felt, we can all grow some of our skills as evaluators. Thank you, Shweta. It is time for table topics. And this week I took the opportunity to ask a few of my Toastmaster friends, why do we do table topics? I know why we do prepared speeches, but why do we do table topics? And I got a couple of really different answers that I wanted to share with you. One of the first was from a Toastmaster was they like being able to think on their feet, and this helps them improve in their daily life. Another friend shared about how when the community building aspect of table topics, where if somebody says something during a table topic that they connect with, that gives them a conversation starter the next time they're on a one-on-one with them. I love table topics because it's an opportunity to stretch myself. I can go in an entirely new different direction and experiment and try something new. So tonight, as we're doing our table topics, I hope that you'll also experiment and try something new, but with confidence. And with that, I would like to turn things over to our table topics master for the night, Garsini. Garsini, over to you.
Wonderful. We're to a good start about table topics with this wonderful introduction about table topics. I would like to call on Kevin. Kevin, are you there with us?
Yeah.
Awesome. What food would be at your ideal picnic? Imagine being at your ideal picnic right now.
I gotta tell you, my ideal picnic in the nature. Oh, no. You're talking to someone who stays at home almost all the time. Nature's not for me. An ideal picnic is at home. Now, not this indoor home, my roof, having a, how about barbecue? Doesn't that sound nice? At your own home, so close to you, and then put a barbecue and enjoy that atmosphere with your friends. I truly believe people often think of picnic as a way to engage with the nature. No, for me, picnic is just a way to have a reason to call my friends over so that we can chat and just have fun. And for that reason, barbecue is the best way. See, we all stand around. We all have something to do. We ought to, this entire atmosphere is so easygoing and so not boring. There's absolutely no awkward silence because whenever we feel like it's awkward, and then you just get to enjoy the time with your friends. Barbecue, absolutely amazing. And for those vegetarians, it's okay. Bell peppers, good as well. Back to you, Garsini.
Kevin, that was a brutal way of explaining what is right now the best meal I could have. I just came from the gym and I'm so hungry, so thank you. For the next one, what is your favorite way to spend a lazy day? Shad Wisher, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Would you be willing to take part in our table topics? Shad, could you hear us? Lakshmi is volunteering to take part. Thank you, Lakshmi.
I'm a couch potato. You can come home and see our couch. There is a bump, there's like a small hole kind of thing where I have been sitting for past 4 or 5 years. Even when there was no pandemic, when I used to go for work, come back home, sit on the couch at the same spot next to my dog, cuddle him and sit. That's what I do the whole time. And of course, I'll be having my cell phone in my hand and going through the emails, or sometimes just lazing around, hugging tightly and not allowing him to move when he's trying to wriggle hard, but I still hold him tight and I torture him, maybe. That's what he must be thinking. So that's what I love to do. I really enjoy doing that. And of course, sleeping. That's my favorite pastime. And like Kenneth, right? I don't know. Did I say his name correctly? Yeah, like him, I too like to spend my time inside the house. I don't like to go out. So that's my favorite pastime. Back to you.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Definitely a lazy day in the bed, spending all day, just being there is the best. And I can't wait for this Saturday to come so that it could be a more relaxing one. At least for me. Oh my God, that's so cute. The dog is very cute with Lakshmi. Abhishek, would you be willing to take part?
Yes.
If you could switch lives with anyone currently living in this entire world for one day, firstly, would you want to do that? And if yes, who would that person be? And if no, if you could provide your explanation of why not.
So yeah, since it's just for one day, I would definitely like to have that experience, to see the world from someone else's eyes. I would like to switch lives with a world leader for one day and see how difficult it is to be in their shoes, and experience how the weight of a whole country feels and the tough decisions you have to make on a day-to-day basis. So that is something I would love to experience, because it's hard to judge from outside how tough a job it is. So I would love to experience that.
Wonderful and full of wisdom, seeing the world from someone else's perspective. Thank you. Vijayanathi, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Vaijayanti. You can call me as Vi.
Nice.
Cool.
Bye. Would you like to take part?
Yes, sure.
Great. If you had only 1 week left on Earth, what would you do?
Okay. That sounds interesting. So definitely it's not gonna be the job. So gonna be like quitting the job and spend like effective time to come up with a to-do list, like who are all the persons to meet, or what are the things to be shared, and what are the places to visit. So with that said, okay, definitely it's gonna be like some important circles who I'm gonna join with them and take them to some places that I have been like that's in my bucket list, I would say. And okay, so yes, spending time with your circle and with your closed ones, it's gonna be the best time it could be. Besides that, I couldn't think anything on top of my head, but definitely, yeah, something that I could complete in my bucket list.
Wonderful. Yes. And the reason I intentionally selected this question, staying on Earth, because right now we have the opportunity, or at least the imagination, that life would be possible outside Earth. So I hope you didn't consider this being something that death, because there are probably more opportunities to live life in different other planets.
Okay, 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 I get it now.
I would like to call on Danny. Danny, are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
here.
would you like to take part?
Sure, why not?
Thank you. If you could go back in time and tell your younger self one thing, what would that be?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yeah, if you could go back in time, however back, and tell one thing to your younger self, what would that be?
So go back in time, like into like during my life, or like back in time, like in history.
Like, for example, it could be interpreted any way. So for me, it would be, I would like to go back when I was, I guess, 2 years old and
Oh,
tell something to myself.
yeah.
But that could be interpreted any way you would like to interpret it.
Yes. Well, definitely. I think I would like to go back to, I guess, beginning of high school years. Definitely, that's like I believe it was like an important time in my life, and I guess I would have invested my time better there. I would have made different choices, and just told myself to just focus on school, I guess. But like, yeah, I guess because that's like the time where like it really marked the rest of my academic careers. So yeah, high school definitely, because I would like have done things differently if I knew how important it was going to be for my later years in education. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Danny. Kenneth, how are we doing on time?
I think yeah, we need to move on. Thank you so much.
Right.
Benjamin. So it is time for us to transition over to evaluations. Evaluations grow to become one of the most pivotal parts of Toastmasters. It's our opportunity to learn, hear what we did well, where we can improve, and see those blind spots. I'd like to first call on Jamal to provide an evaluation of Carol's icebreaker speech. Jamal, over to you.
Thank you, Kenneth. Carol, I enjoyed listening to your speech, and I have to applaud for giving us the very first icebreaker speech. So thank you so much. That courage to give the first icebreaker speech, I really applaud for that. And I enjoyed listening to your speech because I can relate to your shyness, because that's how I was when I grew. At times, not even today, even now at times, I'm even shy. But then, because I have the feeling that, they have things to do, I don't need to go there. Why do I have to go and check on them? Because they will have things to do. So I really can resonate to what you're saying. The two things that you did effectively was excellent gestures. I really liked the use of your hands and how you were explaining things. I felt like you were actually there, and I could go with you in that journey. So that was really good. I really liked the dialogue you were having with your mom. So there was some voice variation. So I really liked listening to that. And one thing I could say to make it more effective would be, next time would be maybe not use the notes if you can. That'll be one thing that I can say. But I would say that, even when I started, I would use notes. So it's one of the things, if you can go without notes, that'll be great. But I would say, the best thing about your speech was really, what I really liked was your seeing your transitions. And also when you said, I am pleased, people are pleased when someone, like the word that he used was, I am pleased when someone reaches out to me. So when I am pleased when someone reaches out to me, in the same way, I could feel that the other person is also pleased when I reach out to them. So that was the feeling that, there are people out there who really like when I reach out to them, and you showed us an example, and I really liked seeing how effective it was. And to recap, you can take your speech to your next level by not using notes next time. I enjoyed your gestures, the dialogue you were having with mom, and just telling your personal story connected with me. And I enjoyed listening to you. Thank you so much, Kenneth.
Thank you, Jamal. And Danny, you weren't here for this, but Carol actually specifically called you out and said she was so inspired by your speech that she threw away her first one and rewrote it based off of hearing yours. And I just wanted to make sure you heard that.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't able to be here.
We'll get you a recording, but just wanted to let you know. You had a ripple effect.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on Kevin, who will be providing an evaluation for Lakshmi's speech.
Just this morning, I was panicking because I couldn't find my key, only to realize that my key is in my pocket. I can totally relate to you, Lakshmi. Now, let's directly jump into the point that your previous evaluator gave you, pauses. I can see that you've put intentional pauses, for example, and at the point when you were talking about your father giving the card to a new couple, and you end with, he gave a cover for a retirement home. And that pause right after that was a good pause that both allowed us to process and get us prepared for what's to come. That was good. I do think, though, that at the end of the part about you asking your dad to give you a dress, that part of the pause I feel could be a little longer, both because that it is funny, and that before that it was about your dad, and after that it was about you. And so that deserves a longer break for transition. One other thing that I absolutely love is the use of hand gestures and movement. For example, I see a lot of movement into the camera, and I love that because they emphasize your point. And of course, when you're bringing out your shoe and you go, ooh, really? I think you can do a little bit more of that. For example, when talking about your dad going to the wrong cubicle, at the end, you could have either impersonate your dad and say, sorry. Or you can show your own reaction to that and go, Dad. And that will add a little more variety. One big thing that I want to point out is I feel that the message of the absent-mindedness making life more interesting and stress-free doesn't feel as connected throughout the speech. I can see that it's interesting, but I couldn't see how that made life stress-free. So maybe you can connect that message into your story and make it more obvious by directly stating how they made life interesting or how they made things more stress-free. And that can allow that message to penetrate through your entire speech. What I love the most, though, is how your beginning and end resonate with each other with the cheat sheet and the Brutus and Toastmaster. Because these beginning to end, what I like to call it as echoing, allows us to remember what the start of the speech was and enjoy this little Easter egg in the speech. Thank you. Back to you, General Lada.
Thank you, Kevin. I completely agree. I also noticed that bookending effect, and that's just a great way to help really get your point home and make your speech memorable. I'd like to call first on my functionary roles. I'd like to call on my awe counter, Karthik. Karthik, could you please give us the awe counter report?
Sure, Toastmaster. So I have carefully noted everyone's use of our favorite crutch words. Here we go. Let's start with Kenneth. you did like really excellent, and I don't have like anything noted down in my logs. So moving next to Garsane. So I'm not sure like if I pronounce the word right. For the thought of the day, I think like you did the thought of the day. So we have 2 R's, and for Jamal, there is no us or like other filler words, but I'm not sure if I should point out to the repetition words. So we have few pair words like that got repeated like a couple of times. Carol, it was so difficult for me to like spot any us or any other filler words, but I was able to like catch one spot where there was a repetition, which is hunkering down. I think I'm pronouncing the word rightly. It is hunkering down or like horning down. For Kevin, in the introduction to the second speaker, so there was one place where you almost slipped and used the word and while giving feedback to the second speaker, it was so difficult for me to find any filler words or us. For Lakshmi, I was able to spot one but. I'm not sure if that is counted as a filler word or a word. For Abhishek, I have 2 us. And for Y, my dear friend, so I have 3 us, 3 okay, and there was some starter issue. For Danny, I have 1 4 definitely, and 3 yeah. Hope I did not miss anyone. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Karthik. That was very thorough. Next, I'd like to call on our timer this evening, Shweta. Shweta, can you please give us the timer's report?
Yeah, so from what I noted down, for Carol, it was 4 minutes 44 seconds. For Lakshmi, it was 6 minutes 40 seconds, which is very close to 7 minutes. So that was very good. For Kevin, it was 1 minute 50 seconds. For Lakshmi, in the table topic, it was 1 minute 8 seconds. For Abhishek, it was 45 seconds. For Vijayanti, it was 1 minute 1 second, and for Danny, it was 1 minute 10 seconds. And for the evaluators, for Jamal, it was 2 minutes 49 seconds, and for Kevin, it was 3 minutes 29 seconds, which was the only one that went over the time.
Thank you, Shweta. A couple of tips, because I noticed we had a few people who came in under a minute on table topics. One, if you saw how Kevin, when he took that first question, he took his time to make sure he really had something concrete before going in. You're allowed to do that. That's totally part of the process. Another thing you can do is you can say, thank you, Toastmaster, for that question. You asked me about X. Interesting. If I were to ask an answer about X, that's like 10 seconds. You can eat it up right there. So these are some ways to help you take the additional time and just keep talking till you get to the green. Better yet, get all the way to the yellow. This concludes our Toastmasters meeting for tonight on the theme of confidence. I would want to spend a couple of minutes just hearing from our guests how they felt the meeting went and what their initial impressions were. So I'd like to first call on Vi. Vi, what did you think of our club tonight?
Okay, thank you for asking feedback on here. I really enjoyed the session. Like, things are organized and we have an agenda beforehand so that we are prepared and we can expect what is coming. So that is something I really liked it, because you have a thought process here. And moving on, we have prepared speech and some table topics. Prepared speech, we could actually figure out the difference, how a prepared speech, how a preparation for that would be, and how can we think about what are the points that we can bring up for the table topics. So this gives us some different environment, different platform for a person to think about and come up with an efficient speech. So I really enjoyed the session. I have heard about my friend talking about this. It was very interesting, but after taking part into this, as you said, it's like an learning experience where I come across all the mistakes from us and from learning from others as well. So it's great. I really enjoyed it, and
Oh,
glad to connect with you
thank you
all.
for that. Yeah, that was incredible. I'm curious, was this your first instance of Toastmasters, or have you done it before?
No, this is my first.
Wow. Okay. It seems like you really got a grip of how things go around here. You're referencing it by the right name and everything. That's awesome. Shaba, I wanted to ask you, how was your experience tonight?
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Kenneth. I'm still thinking with the time here, it's too early again. But yes, my eyes got opened wider when the session started, all set to know what this is all about. As Wai mentioned, this is my very first session with the Toastmasters Club ever in my life. I've never been a part of any club in the past. So I had to kind of be here because of my current role. I transitioned as a project specialist where I am supposed to be leading onboarding sessions and other engaging activities for the interns and the new graduates. So facing a crowd is definitely not my cup of tea. I really don't know how I ended up in this role, but yes, I cracked the interview. And then I feel there was a need for my skill set to be enhanced. And I could do only by listening to people, or rather being in a club like this so that I can speak well. And when the session started, when I said, okay, there are people who do timekeeping, there are people who are going to evaluate us on our hours and the fillers, I could only recall about my call center days when I started my corporate job, where it was very specific and we were evaluated on the fillers, right? So, so I could go back. It was a nostalgic time for me to even recall my earlier days of my corporate session. So what impresses me is, yes, I was very focused on today's prepared speeches on the words they use. Being from India, beyond English, I use around 6 regional languages. So I'm not very efficient in replacing words, which means, a better word which can be used in a congregation or a group to make it more effective. So I was really focused on what Lakshmi or Carol spoke about. It was really impressive. And it's in the very first session, it is much of takeaway for me from here and how someone has to prepare to talk. And the roundtable one, yes, gives me instant confidence of how to relate things. And yeah, it's much of learning here, Kenneth. So this session has value added. I'm happy to be benefited from this, in fact, on day one itself.
I'm so glad to hear that this was so valuable for you. That is music to my ears. One thing I'll share is Toastmasters often do a lot of workshops. And as you get involved in the scene, as it were, I've gone to specific workshops on things such as how to have a great Zoom meeting specifically for a business context. And I took a lot of notes, and it really made a difference in my professional role. So encourage you to keep with it and keep sticking with it. There's more here for sure. I would like to call on Shoud. I hope I'm saying that right, Shoud. How was your experience this evening? I guess Shoud is not with us. All right, well, I will turn things over to Club President Jaimal George for any closing announcements. Over to you, Jaimal.
Yeah, before that, I would like to check with Abhishek. How was your experience today?
It was really good. I especially like the evaluation part. It's kind of in line with the concept of deliberate practice, which is like you cannot improve unless you have feedback. So the feedback is really essential, and I think all the evaluators are always on point. So that makes a great session for everyone to keep improving.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. So we are chartering this club. Chartering means, like, once we get 20 members, then we will become aligned with Toastmasters International. And then, the Toastmasters International provides a pathways program for us to go through a journey in the sense, like, they have dynamic leadership, innovative planning. There are like different levels that you can take, different projects that you can work on, and then each of them have prepared speeches, and there is evaluation given as well. So I highly recommend that you keep coming to this meeting, and when interested, please let me know, and you can join as a member. Toastmasters is a nonprofit organization, and this club uses the Toastmasters guidelines, and this is a safe and a mutually supportive platform for all of us to improve our speaking skills. And it's just 1 hour long, and like what you saw, it's 1 hour long of packed session. And then, once you become a member, you can there'll be a VP of education who will assign you like speaking roles, evaluation roles, functionary roles. There's like so many things that comes with it. So my journey with Toastmasters has only improved my self-confidence, as well as improved my personal growth. And I now am able to boost and have a strong relationship with people, because I'm able to understand how things are and be able to relate to people as well as talk to them. So I feel Toastmasters is a great, great place to improve our personal growth as well as self-confidence. Do you have any questions?
So I'll just pick up what Jaimal was saying. For those of us, Shobha, Vibe, who are here for the first time, this is a club where it's going to be, we're trying to charter. Toastmasters is a organization as a whole, but in order to charter, that means we need to get 20 members. So we're looking to get our core group so we can keep this thing going and keep the momentum going, and then be a real Toastmasters club. So some of the things that come with that, just to say what they are, Jaimal pointed out the education aspects. There's this whole pathways program where you can take a track like being a dynamic leader or presentation skills. The other thing that's a lot more fun is participating in things like contests. So next week, I'm actually going to be participating in a table topics contest where I'm going to be competing for my district. And if I do really well there, I'll move up to the next division level and go all the way up to nationals. It's just a fun way to grow as a speaker, and it gives you something to look forward to and really, get out of your comfort zone if you're looking to do something like that. So there are reasons to charter, and I hope you'll reach out to Jaimal if that's something of interest to you.
Sounds good. Any questions? Feedback, comments? If not, we will see you next week. And I'll follow up with you through email, and feel free to get in touch with me. And if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to let me know. Yeah, thank you so much. And I did share a form. If you would like to fill that, I'll be able to get your email address.
Thank you, Jamal.
Thank you. And we adjourn this meeting. Or you can stay back if you want to just talk. Yeah.